to Just Minding My Business Radio, where we are moving at the speed of God, learning what we didn't know we didn't know. I'm your host, Ida Crawford.
And I'm your co-host, Ruth Haskins.
So grab a pen and paper and get ready for information that you can use.
Welcome to Just Minding My Business Media. We hope your day has had good news and pleasant surprises, and that you are moving towards the fulfillment of your goals. Today we have coming to the mic Keisha A. Rivers, President and Chief Outcome Facilitator of the KARS Group Ltd., where she specializes in assisting clients to facilitate outcomes by equipping their people to manage change. She is also the founder and executive director of the KARS Institute for Learning and Collaboration, a nonprofit organization that provides training, resources, and support to new and emerging nonprofits. Welcome, Keisha. Welcome to Just Minding My Business Media.
Thank you for having me, ladies. I am excited to join you.
Yes, we're excited to have you. Thank you again. And we all like to know how you got on this road, because I know you've been at it for a while. I've been following you over the years.
It's been a minute. Actually, I celebrated 15 years this year, and so my start is one that I tell people: do not do what I do. Like every time I work with people. I had been my last job was a general manager of a minor league soccer franchise. And in that role, I was responsible for all the marketing, operations, so on and so forth. But it was a lot of traveling, and it was a lot of work. And they did not believe in any downtime at all. Mm-hmm. So after fielding 2 a.m. phone calls and no weekends off and all of this, I finally got fed up and I said, you know what, I'm done. I quit. So I drove the car, they had to give me a car and an apartment, all this stuff. I drove the car with all their stuff over, knocked on one of the owner's doors, handed him the key in dramatic fashion and said, this is my resignation, effective immediately. Mm-hmm. And I turned around and I walked down the long driveway till I got to the end. And I turned around and I went, wait, where am I? How am I supposed to get home? So it was good. It was a good scene out of a movie, but then I did not have a next. And so what happened is there were several other teams that found out that I had quit my job. And so there was now this kind of recruiting war as far as people who wanted me to work for them. But they were all going to require me to move, and I didn't want to relocate. So it was like, if I start a consulting company, I could work for all of you, and I don't have to move. I can just travel. So that's how I started. No big plan, no, marketing, no, identify your market niche. It was just I was fed up. I had my movie moment, and then I had to figure out what was going to be next.
I love the movie moment.
Yes, and it's so funny. A lot of times we don't always have to go about a book. Mm-hmm. It happens so differently for so many different people. It's like frustration was you're out. You were sick and tired. And they pretty much was burning you out with not having that downtime for yourself. Mm-hmm. So tell us what KARS is. What does KARS mean?
Well, KARS stands for Knowledge Always Reigns Supreme. And information is static. You can have information all day, but knowledge is dynamic. Knowledge is when you take the information and you do something with it to apply it. So KARS is a company that focuses on helping and assisting people to be able to apply the information so that it can turn into dynamic knowledge, and they can be able to manage change, identify and achieve their outcomes and their goals, and sustain the success. So it's not just about coming in and putting a Band-Aid on something. I tell people all the time, you engage with me and my company, you're going to learn something by the end of the time we're together, because I don't want to just be a Band-Aid for people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Can you give us a little snapshot of what that looks like? You walk into a company, they say they need your help, and you show up, and so how does that conversation roll out?
Well, really, when companies come to me, more often than not, they're going through some type of major change, some type of major shift. With everything that's been happening with COVID and the pandemic, it's how do I shift to have my people work remotely, and how do I shift to service a different type of client, or with everything going on with George Floyd and systemic racism and discrimination, how do I make sure that I have a more inclusive or diverse workforce? Whatever it is that they have an issue with, their pain point, as I call it. My first question is, okay, you've told me what your pain point is, and you've told me what's going wrong, but I need a vision of what it would look like if it was going right. And so we always start with, what is your vision of success? Because if you can't envision what success looks like, you don't have a goal in mind of where you're trying to get to. That's first off. 2, you won't understand, you won't know when you've reached it. And 3, if we don't have a goal or a vision in mind that we can rally the troops around and then create a plan to get there, then we're just throwing things at the problem and hoping that something sticks. Wow. And so I believe in a strategic approach, but I always start with the client's vision of success, not mine, because I can go in and say, you know what, y'all need to do it this way, but that's not their way. And if it's not their way, then they're not going to follow through. They're not going to sustain it. I've had times when I've worked with clients and I'll have it all look like, this is great, it's working awesome. And then when I leave and I come back, you know, they'll call me 3 months later or sometimes 2 weeks later and say, yeah, remember what you put together? Yeah, that's not working anymore for us. So I had to come up with a way of doing it where it wasn't my model and my vision, it was their model and their vision. My job is just to help them get to the vision of success that they have.
So how much does that have to do with the company, what they call company culture? And if you could talk a little bit about what company culture is, because that's sort of like a buzzword.
Yes. Company culture is the way in which the people in your organization get along. The feeling that you have in terms of, and it's a combination of your vision, your mission, how your working environment feels. If it's something where, you know, I've worked with companies where there are people that have been there for 20 plus years and they're like family because they've watched each other's kids grow up. They know about the divorces and the remarries. You know, they've had company picnics. So their company culture is like family. We're all in this together. We're good. You know, I know you, I know your husband. We're on a first name basis. And that's everyone from the CEO down to the person that works in the mailroom. You have some other cultures where you walk in and it's a definite separation where everyone is very professional. They have boundaries up. You only go so far. Our conversations are not going to delve into personal issues, family issues, politics. I am here to do my job. I will close my door, do my thing. We will work together. We'll laugh over coffee, and then we go home. And so depending on where the company is trying to go to and what exactly, how much change they're trying to impact, to create, your company culture has a lot to do with that. Because if you are, for instance, there are clients I'm working with now that are looking at diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging because they want to tackle some social justice issues and they want to look at how are we as a company showing up for Black and brown people that work here? How are we as a company creating an environment where all of our people feel comfortable showing up fully and wholly and believing that they're going to be supported? And so when they start taking those kind of looks at each other, at themselves, what type of culture, what type of environment are you creating? And so when you start talking about change and when you start talking about creating that vision of success, number one has to be, what is the environment like in your space? If I were to walk in as a new employee, how would I feel? Would I feel like I belong? Would I be welcomed? Do I have people who don't know me, but who would go to bat for me or try to mentor me or take me under their wing? Or is it you're new, I don't know you, and you're over here, and the rest of us are over there?
Very powerful arrangement, a dynamic that can really make it impossible for a person to work and succeed in, and certainly for a company to grow.
Yes.
There's that much divisiveness.
Yes. And so a lot of what I do, even though I'm focused on the outcome, or, if it's increasing their profits or breaking into a new market or looking at marketing strategy or fine tuning the way that they develop their operations or, enhancing leadership, whatever the area, their culture, their environment plays a huge part in it. Because you have some places where people are open to trying new things and say, you know what, we could be better at this. So let's be open to learning more and doing things. And then you have some people who are just like, we don't need you. We know what we're doing. Somebody else hired you. We didn't want you coming here. We've been doing it this way for X number of years. And I'll say, okay, you can keep doing it that way because I'm good. I'm out. I don't need this kind of aggravation. Life is too short, and there is not enough money to go through with that. We're not doing that.
Sure. And it's funny you say that because, I still work in corporate, and we have those people. I work with a lot of people that are like in their 60s and 70s. And when there's something new, oh my God, you pretty much have to like rub their back, hold their hand. And then with the pandemic, because I do IT, and I had to pretty much get the whole company ready to work from home in like a hurry. So it was a lot of emotional stuff going on. I had to play coach first. Then I had people that didn't know didn't even know what Wi-Fi was.
Yeah.
I had people running cables from other people's houses. I was like, oh my God.
I don't want to know.
So, and it was very traumatic. When things didn't work right, you could feel the frustration. You could feel their fear. It was scary for them, very scary.
Yeah.
And so now we months into it, many of them now like it. Now that they're used to it. And also because of all the uprise around the country, our company is also doing, making sure that everybody in the company is feeling comfortable.
Right.
So we've been having classes and meetings and things like that. And there's a lot of fear around it because I work with Jewish people. So there's a lot of fear as to how the African American population of the company is going to react to everything going on. But it's been something. And
yeah, and I always tell people that, and it's interesting because you mentioned about the fear that people had with the change. If left to their own devices, people would never change. Exactly. We don't want to be, we have our comfort zone. I know what this is. I've literally heard people talk about in this political climate when we're looking at, electing a new president, and they said, I know what he's going to do. I'd rather stick with that than try someone new. And I said that's fear makes us do the most idiotic things because it's this picture and these stories that we tell ourselves that's not true. And so the first thing that happens when you look at change and when you look at trying to get people to move in a different direction, because they don't know, their minds automatically fill it with a whole bunch of things that they're thinking of is going to be unpleasant. Worst case scenario, they heap that on and everything else on top of it. And the first thing I always ask, they're like, well, we don't want to do this because, it may alienate some people, or people are going to be uncomfortable, or we don't know what the learning curve is going to be, or how long we're going to have to sustain this, and what it's going to cost, and what is it going to do to the morale. And they're giving me all these reasons why it won't work. And I always say, so what if it succeeds?
Right.
what if it all goes to plan? What if it's easy? What if people are like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad you said that because I didn't want to do this other stuff anymore? What if that happens?
Right.
And you have to start with their mindset and getting people to understand it's not that bad. Stop filling in the gaps with all the other stuff, the worst case scenario. Let's look at maybe the opposite side. What if it goes well?
Yep.
What if you like this? I've got people now that were like adamantly refuse to have any type of work from home situation or remote learning. We can't do that. We have to be here. I have to see you. Because I've been remote for 15 years. I don't go in an office.
That's right.
We ain't doing that.
And they've done that.
And before, I mean, I was remote before remote was a thing. And I used to have people, no, we need to see you. You can see me. There's a video. I can see what you look like. Well, no, I need to have you in the room. Now, everybody's on Zoom. Oh my gosh, this is so great. We can get so much more done. I can schedule all these meetings. I don't have to worry about travel. Like, all that stuff I kept telling you about why it was more cost effective and more efficient to just do the video meetings because I've got all my stuff here instead of me adding traffic time and all of that to travel to you. You know what? Just stay at your desk.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Because my company went from 250 Zoom meetings a month. Now we're up to 3,500. And it was like we traveled back and forth to Israel and all of these places, so that it was plane fares, hotels, phones had to be switched over to international service.
Yep.
So all of this money that they're saving. And then a lot of times on Fridays, nobody really even showed up to work. So we would turn the lights on for nothing.
Right.
And we had talked to them about a 4-day work week or a 3-day. And I was like, no.
Yeah, but now they're like, oh, you know what? We got a lot more money left because they're not in an office building.
Yes.
So many companies have found that out. The ones who were all protesting and upset are like, oh, this is a really good deal.
Yep.
Let's figure out how to keep them at home.
They keep me at home. I was an hour and a half commute one way. So, I'm loving it.
Yeah, I told them, I said, my commute is so horrible. I mean, I have 2 flights of stairs to come down to my office. It's like I got tied up in traffic. Wait, I stopped by the fridge and got some chocolate. I'll be there. I'll be a little late.
You know what? This is a really interesting conversation because so many people, even as we are all on Zoom, have started their own businesses and they are hiring people to work with them. So can you talk a little bit about how to begin to design the company culture that you want, as opposed to going in 10 years and having to change everything because it's not working?
Right. And that is a key point. Everything you do has to be designed. When you are starting a business, when you are pivoting in a business, when you are expanding a business, you have to be strategic and deliberate and intentional about everything. And I'm a big person. I'm a big vision person. So I always say, and this is an exercise that I give to a lot of clients. And I tell them, if you imagine you were operating at the pinnacle of success, whatever that looks like for you, and you're on the cover of Time magazine, Good Morning America has you on feature, you're doing interviews on the Today Show, Oprah decided that she's going to do a segment on you, so they send a camera crew to you, and from the moment you wake up until the moment you go to sleep for one day, they follow you around. What are they going to see? And so I have them write it as a narrative. I said, I don't want a bullet point list. I don't want something that's, sterile, like, oh, okay, well, I have 5 employees and I have this office building. No. I want a story. I want my alarm goes off at 6 a.m. and I hit the snooze button as smooth jazz comes on. I open my eyes, and through the patio on the deck of my townhouse, I overlook the ocean and see the sun coming up. And as I get out of bed and I pad across my heated bamboo floors to go take my shower, and I listen to my meditation and my worship music in the morning, and I say my affirmations, and then I check my schedule, and my assistant has scheduled a board meeting with my nonprofit. I have a team leadership meeting with my international team via Zoom. I have 2 new clients that we're onboarding to develop a new approach and a new learning system for them. And then I'm following it up. I have lunch with my accountability partner, and the afternoon I'm going to be speaking at an awards banquet where I'm being honored. Details.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go through the rest of your day. When you arrive at your office, do you have a car that's picking you up, that's driving you? Are you taking a helicopter or a private jet somewhere? Is your office on the 4th floor or the penthouse? Do you have a standalone office? How many people are there? What does it feel like when people walk in? Who are your clients? What are they doing? And so when you're trying to figure out the culture that you want to create, you have to have a vision of closing your eyes and imagining yourself being in that space.
Mm-hmm.
What does it feel like? What does it look like? Not just the activities that are going on, but what does it feel like to be there? What are you wearing? Do you have a whole closet full of designer suits, or are you dressed down in jeans? What does it look like when people come into the office? Are there snacks? You know me, I like food. Are there snacks everywhere? Is Skittles on everybody's desk? You know, who greets you when you come in? How do your people collaborate? Are there cubicles around, or are there, is it an open working space? The more detailed you are about the vision, the more you can feel that in action. Now you ask yourself, after you've written out the vision, then you ask yourself, what is needed to make that happen? And so for every section of it, if I start out and I'm talking about my routine at home, I pull that aside. What is needed to make that happen? Well, I need a townhouse that's on the beach. I need bamboo floors, so I need some money. So you start breaking that down. And then when you get to the office portion and the people you have in the schedule, what's needed to make that happen? And when you focus on culture, if I'm describing the feel that I want in this organization, my question is, what is needed to make that happen?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay.
And so your key components to anything that you're doing is having the vision and being detailed. And I always tell people, when I do my vision statements, it's not in a sterile conference room, on a whiteboard. It's sitting near, because water is my thing. So it's sitting near a lake or near a beach, someplace where I'm relaxed, have my music playing, and I'm able to just close my eyes and say, if I was here, what would it be like? And I just write it out, because I need to see it, but I need to feel it so that it's real. And then I can go back and say, okay, let me deconstruct this. Let me dissect this and say, what is needed to make that happen? And you go step by step. So if I say my company culture is one where my people are dressed down or however they want, it's an open concept where there are working spaces where people can go in, everybody is collaborating all the time, there's a group of people who are working on a project together, what's needed to make that happen? Well, I need an environment where everybody talks to each other. What's needed to make that happen? I need to have an environment where people trust each other. What's needed to make that happen? Then I need to give people some autonomy to make decisions. What's needed to make that happen? I need to hire people and empower them to understand that they're part of a team overall. What's needed to make that happen? I need to have a certain type of person. So as you do that and you deconstruct and you unpack, then what you have is when you get to the very last answer, that last answer now becomes the first thing that you do. And when you invert it that way, now you actually have the makings of a strategic action plan, because everything you said that's needed to make that happen, that becomes a bullet point. That's a KPI, a key performance indicator. That is something that you need to build up to. So that's a check on your checklist.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I like that approach because, I mean, in essence, anything that you're building, you've got to see it before you can build it.
Yep.
You got to believe it's possible.
Yeah, that's really important, believing that it's possible. And I like something that you say in some of the other information we have. Your passionate belief empowers your clients to find ways to make the possible probable, and the probable, therefore, doable.
Mm-hmm.
That's a powerful statement because that's not the way most people go about anything. They talk about possibilities, and that's kind of like where it is. But what you just described is that you take the possibilities and bring it all the way down to what can be done. And you start there and then work your way back up.
Yeah. And a lot of what I do, it hinges on mindset. It hinges on the way you think. Yes. And I tell people all the time, I don't do training. Training is I am focused on a behavior and I'm trying to get you to do that behavior over and over again. Sometimes there's penalties for not doing the behavior. Sometimes there's rewards for doing the behavior. But I'm focused on your behavior. I don't like behavior because that's more work. I have to go back over and over again to try to make you do something that is not innately part of who you are. So instead, I focus on your mindset. Awesome. If I switch your mindset and I get you to believe something different, you're going to behave differently. Mm-hmm. Because your thoughts drive your actions. Absolutely. So if I get you to go from, here's this vision of success and something, I tell you, money is no object. Resources are no object. There are no limitations. You can dream as big as you dream. And then when I take you through the exercise of what is needed to make that happen, and as we get further and further down, and we start with the first step you take, this one little thing that you do is going to ultimately lead you to that big dream. Now you see that it's probable. I can see the connection. Mm. Then when you realize that the steps are small, oh, I can do this. Now it's possible. Mm. Mm-hmm. And the more you do the little things that you do, and the more you see that it's possible, and you see, you know what? I just need to go from here to there. I don't need to go from here to China and try to figure out how to get there. I just need to take one step. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. If you can get someone to believe in the possibility becoming a probability that they will get closer to their goal by taking one step at a time, now you've opened up their whole mind to what's possible. And now they're like, oh, I can do this. When I hear them say, oh, all I have to do, yes, that's all you have to do.
Because most of the time people make it abstract, like there's going to be a whole lot of this, mm-hmm. and actually it's nothing once you start getting into it. Wow. So before we go on, how can companies reach out to you? Because I just love your approach. I really do. I really love your approach.
Well, the easiest way is to go to my website. It's karsgroup.com, and that's Kars with a K, KARS group.com. There's a Let's Talk button where you can schedule a 15-minute assessment call with me, or if you understand what you need and you need to do a strategy call to figure out exactly what the scope of work would be, you can schedule that via my calendar online. You can also send me a message via there, as well as an email. But the first step is reaching out and let's have a conversation, because nothing I do is one size fits all. It's all custom according to where the client is, what their vision is, and what they need. And so we just have to have a conversation and figure out, okay, where you want to go.
And I love it.
There's someone out there who's like, they're already typing.
Yes.
They may be doing it anonymously. Please don't tell my boss that I sent you this message. But sometimes what's needed is seen not so much by the employers or the ones in the up and up, it's the ones who are down below, who are actually doing the work, actually seeing the day-to-day run-ins, seeing how different divisions within the company react to each other and just cause more problems in getting work done. So they're usually the ones who really have the information. So they're the ones who are like, oh, please. They go home every day in that hour and a half drive fussing about the fact, I wish they would do this. I wish they would do that. Because they see it. They have the full impact. Whereas other people go out for a cocktail and they think everything is fine as long as the money keeps rolling in.
Yeah. And it's interesting that you said that, because there's an approach I have to leadership that I call leading from within. And it's two parts. It's leading from within in terms of leading from within who you are, but it's also leading from within in terms of it's not a top-down approach. It's not a bottom-up approach. It is an all of us approach.
Okay.
So everyone is on an equal playing field, and every single person who is in that company has to understand their leadership role by understanding their connection to the whole.
Right.
Regardless of what your position is, everybody has a ripple effect, and we all make an impact. If your job is a receptionist and you are the one that's in charge of scheduling appointments and making sure the office runs smoothly, if you're not leading in your position and you don't understand your connection to the overall goals of the organization, then you'll think my job doesn't matter. What I do doesn't matter.
Yes, that's so true. That's so true. I as you were talking just now, I flashed back about, we won't say how many years, a company that I once worked for, and was a great company, and it had an excellent company culture. We didn't know that's what it was. But everyone, it was retail. And in that retail organization, when I first became a part of it, one of the things that I remember and that was most noticeable is that if we had a really big sale going on or something else was going on, we were getting ready for inventory, the old-fashioned way where you count dot by dot. Everyone was involved, from the store manager all the way down to the mailroom. Everyone was involved, and we had a good time doing it.
Yep.
We really had a good time. We enjoyed each other's company. We enjoyed working with each other, and we supported each other. You had division managers that really supported one another. And what was interesting was that if we kind of like rebelled against that company culture and you were all whatever, invited you to see the outside of the front door.
And this is something that I always tell people about culture, because they say, well, we don't want to have a whole lot of turnover. And, what do we do if somebody's toxic and we want to try to get them out? I don't have any grounds for firing them except that they're toxic. I said, you create an environment where it attracts good people, and people who are not a good fit don't want to stay.
Absolutely. I was thinking that.
Yes.
They weed themselves out.
Yeah, the culture creates that ebb and flow of people you attract and people who are like, this really doesn't fit me. And I always tell people, don't force anybody to stay against their will. If you don't want to be here, cool.
Yes.
Because the goal is to attract the ones who are your people. You create the culture, and the people that you really want, you'll be able to attract them, because there'll be the nuances and the little things. Yeah, you have the bonuses and the benefits and the salary and all of that, but it's the nuances. Because unless you have the intangibles, I don't care how good the job is, I'm not staying after a certain period of time. I tell people all the time, I've been an entrepreneur for 15 years. I have not answered to anyone for 15 years. I am officially unemployable at this point.
I'm sure.
Likely, yes. Because who can meet all those expectations that you take for granted right now?
Yeah.
Especially when people are so unaware of the idea of company culture and how important it is.
Yeah. And so I tell people it would have to be a really, really good setting for me to say, I'll do it. And I had actually was recruited last year by a company, and got as far as going out and they flew me out for the final interview and everything. And I was like, we might can make this work if your number's right. And if I can still have my company. If the number's not right and I can't have my company, then yeah, no, we're not doing that.
Right. And that's a wonderful place to be in.
Yes.
I know you feel really good about that.
Yeah. And then it was actually, and so it turned out that we got to the end. I was one of the 4 finalists, and they got back to me and they said, okay, you're overqualified. They're like for what we were hiring for and what we wanted you to do. They're like, the ideas that you gave us and the things that you talked about, they're like, we need to create another position for you, but it'll take us about a year or 2 to do it.
Oh, that's very high compliment.
Yeah.
And I went, okay. I was like, you know where I am. I'm not sweating it. I'm good.
Oh my goodness, this has been an awesome conversation.
Yes.
That's one thing that Ida and I enjoy. We don't have hot seat conversations. We have conversations.
Yes.
Just talking to people about what they do and how they go about it, and then hearing what you have to bring to people. And what you have to offer is valuable.
Very.
So very valuable, because so many companies don't recognize that their culture is toxic. Yeah. Which is why they can't hold on to employees, right. And why they're worrying about, that particular line in their operational costs, why it seems to be just virgin. That they can't keep good employees, because employees don't want to be there. They're trying, as soon as they walk in the door, they're trying to find a way out.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that has become sort of, I'd say in the last 50 years, really, if not maybe longer, the attitude of most workers. Most workers now are like, I'm going there to get a job, to get some money.
Yep.
And I'm not married to the company. Before, people used to be married to the company that they were involved with, and the owners were married to their employees. Not always healthy, not always perfect, but there was a bond.
Yeah.
Now, it's like,
see,
show me the money.
Right. But see, a big part of it is too, there's more degrees of separation now between the owner and the entry-level person that walked in the door. That's one. 2, there's so many more options. Okay. Before, you got in because after a certain number of years, hey, I have, health insurance, I have a salary, I have a family I have to support. I have, I'm looking for that retirement and all of that. And now there are more and more people who are like, you know what? I could do my own business, my side hustle on the side with the internet, make some money, sell some stuff, multi-level marketing, get some people to sign up for things, make some supplemental money. And people now are not afraid to jump.
Yes, that's very true.
That's right.
They are not. And especially if they're like me, I'm divorced, I have no children. It's just me, myself, and I. And I tell people, when you have a family to support, you make different decisions. With me, on the lean years, because people see me now and they're like, oh my gosh, you got Walmart as a client and you're doing this with these big companies and I see you speaking at conferences. And I was like, I didn't start that way. There were some ramen noodle days, where I was like, okay, we going to the dollar menu because, I got my $1.50, so we gonna make this work. But they don't see that.
Right.
And they see it like, oh, I started my company, so, I'm coming out the gate. I want to be making 6 figures. And I'm like, is there a decimal at the end of the 6 figures, or in the, you got 4 figures in front? What you doing? I'm trying to figure out where the decimal is in your 6. But it's this whole thing of the concept of loyalty now. People are loyal to themselves.
Yes.
And you cannot create a really great company culture unless you realize people nowadays are not going to be loyal to anything that is counterproductive to who they are, and that's going to jeopardize their happiness.
Yes, that is so true. You're so
awesome.
True.
Especially since we spend so much time at work.
Yes.
You know, that whole balance thing is still kind of, is not exactly where it should be. And especially now with people working from home, there are people who have no balance because you've got people you're taking care of at home, you've got family, you have kids, you have a dog, you have people that you're caring for.
Yeah.
So, and it's like they're always on. So it's like, why would I want to be miserable? I'm not doing that. That's not what life's supposed to be about.
And
I want to do something that's going to make me happy.
That's something that I think that has come up probably during this pandemic. Many people have started realizing, oh, I wasn't happy anyway. I was doing that because I thought I had to. And like you said, they've been on the internet and they found all kinds of little ways of making a little extra change, but it's enough to get by with. And they're thinking now like, oh, I can create something on my own.
Yeah.
And it's, so people are not loyal to a company. So for a company to hold employees, they have to do something extraordinarily well.
Yes.
They have to create an environment that is extraordinary for their employees, that would make them want to get up and go to work and remain loyal.
Yeah. And then the other thing too is companies aren't loyal to the health. So it's a two-way street.
Yeah.
So that whole culture of making sure that you make your people feel valued is critical.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
It's critical.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's why I say that if, culture is about leading from within where everybody is involved. Mm-hmm. Everybody. And so if you are not valuing your employees, you're not showing your people that they're important and that you value what they say and that you want their input and that they're connected to something bigger, they'll be out the door as soon as they find a new opportunity.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you got to mean that when you say it. You just can't say it. And then when the person acts upon it, and then you make them feel like they did something wrong.
Right.
And
Yep.
that happens.
Yep. There is a saying, I cannot hear what you're saying over the noise of your behavior.
Oh, I like that. I've heard that before, but thank you for bringing that up.
Yes.
Can you say that again?
Yep. I cannot hear what you're saying over the noise of your behavior. Your actions are screaming at me. I don't care what you're saying, but your actions are screaming at me.
For sure. Wow. This has been very, very interesting. You have been definitely a pleasure and lots of good gems. And I'm hoping that our audience are business owners with employees and really understand the importance of leadership, because you want to be a leader that people want to follow.
Yes.
Not that they have to follow.
Yep.
And it's a big difference. Very big difference. So again, Ms. Keisha, how do people get in contact with you?
Well, the easiest way is to go to my website. It's karsgroup.com. That's KARS group.com. No spaces or dashes. You can also find me on social media. You can look me up on LinkedIn. Keisha A. Rivers is what I'm under. Do a Google search, you'll find me.
Well, it has definitely been a pleasure and an honor. I have been following you for many years, and you have been an inspiration to me in some of the words that I've seen you post and the things that I've seen you post. So thank you so much for saying yes. Because sometimes I see you on Facebook, and then other times I don't see you. And I said, the next time I see Miss Keisha, I'm going to ask her real quick to come on the show.
Yeah, I've had people who've told me that. They're like, you disappear sometimes. And I said, well, when I post because there's something I'm led to say. If I'm not led to say anything, I don't post anything. That's just the way I've always been that way. And there's sometimes where it's too much noise.
Yes, I agree.
So, for my own sense of peace and my own sanity, there are times when it's me, my couch, and Netflix. I'm not on social media or doing anything. We just chilling. So.
Yes. Well, thank you so much. And we're definitely going to have you back, because this is something that leaders have to continue to hear. It's not something that they can hear one time and get it. You know how we roll.
Yep.
You gotta be told over and over.
Yep. Definitely.
Before we get that aha moment.
And that's what we're looking for, the aha moment. Once we get the aha moment, then we can do something with you. Until we get the aha moment, then we got to keep trying.
Yes, yes. Well, thank you again.
Thank you so much, Keisha.
Thank you for having me. This was fun. I really enjoyed this conversation.
Yes, we did too.
Your business, through Just Minding My Business Media, has exposure on internet radio, major social media platforms, and now TV. Through Just Minding My Business, dynamic digital marketing platform. Don't listen to the word on the street. Hear it for yourself. Visit jmb.asistercircle.org to learn how you can take your business, your vision, to the next level. Thank you to the amazing women of A Sister Circle Empowerment Network, ASCEN LLC, and our media partners. Voiceovers by RCH VoiceWorks, for when you want to be heard. Call 443-620-4115.
Thank you for tuning in to Just Minding My Business Radio. I'm your host, Ida Crawford.
And I'm your co-host, Ruth Haskins.
We hope you enjoyed the show and appreciate you stopping by. Many blessings to you and yours.